Well, it's a rainy day across central Arkansas as we take a look at Interstate 430 on Cantrell Road. As you can see, the rain has stopped, but the roads are still wet as many head home. But the rain not the only problem on the road today, as earlier over in North Little Rock, an overturned 18-wheeler caused some drivers headaches. Authorities say the truck, which was leaking diesel, flipped there on I-430 near exit 12. That road is just now clearing up after being backed up for the last few hours. Hello, and thank you for joining us here at 6. I'm Faith Woodard alongside Chief Meteorologist Tom Brannon. Rolly has the week off. Tom, it's been raining all day.
Yes.
Is there any sign of it letting up?
Well, it's going to be letting up a little, and then another round coming through later tonight. We've got a frontal boundary on the way. That front's going to bring another round of rain and some strong wind gusts. Here's what it looks like now. Mentioned that it's backed off a bit, Little Rock South. One batch has moved out. Now the next batch is moving through northern and north central Arkansas. Folks up there getting a good drink of water this evening. Our temperatures are on the cool side. They did not warm much. They're not going to warm much from there. In fact, they'll probably drop off pretty quickly. We've got a pretty good chance of some wind and more rain tomorrow. Weather impact advisory. We've got a wind advisory statewide. Winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour. Gusts as high as 35 miles per hour. So make sure that you secure objects and decorations that are outside. And there could even be a couple of power outages with tree limbs getting snapped. It's going to be a windy day tomorrow. But coming back here in a few minutes, we'll talk about when you'll see some sunshine.
All right, thanks, Tom. Meanwhile, tonight, Pine Bluff police are investigating a shooting that left a 14-year-old in the hospital. They say it happened on South Cherry Street after the boy told police that he and his friends noticed a white Dodge Challenger following them after they left the store. They then pulled into a church parking lot where they were shot at by a man that authorities described was wearing a half mask and a white or brown hoodie with the word "boom" written on it. Day 28 of the government shutdown and still no end in sight. Earlier today, the Senate failed to advance a funding bill to reopen the government for a 13th time, and it's putting 42 million Americans at risk of losing federal food assistance ahead of the November 1st deadline. But they're not the only ones. Air traffic controllers are also feeling the pain as they missed their first full paycheck today. And earlier today, lawmakers were asked about whether they will move forward with votes on measures to pay some federal workers or fund programs like SNAP during the shutdown.
I get the rationale. People think about, these issues in terms of, well, this one, let's do this one, or this one. But that's not the way to approach this.
We're trying to navigate a way out of this where we get the government back open, but at the same time, that people's health care doesn't go off a cliff.
25 states and the District of Columbia are looking to sue the Trump administration over its plans to freeze SNAP food assistance payments, arguing the law requires the government provide the funds for November. And here at home, thousands could be affected if a deal isn't reached by the end of the week. That's why local food banks are stepping in to help. If you're someone looking for assistance, we've got an article on thv11.com where you can find the full list of food banks offering up a free meal. And there's also just 4 days left until major changes to Arkansas child care goes into effect. It's a story THV11's Carter Thweet has been following for weeks. He joins us in studio now to tell us about a last-ditch effort that some say could save child care centers statewide. Carter?
Faith, it was September 19th when the Arkansas Department of Education announced funding cuts for most of the state's child care providers. Cuts they said were coming from the federal level. But before the cuts go into effect on November 1st, an emergency task force met today to try and save this situation.
This is doable, guys. This is a solution that can go into effect immediately.
And an immediate solution is what child care providers say they need. State Senator Jane English, part of an emergency task force as the state deals with the loss of funding.
Kind of a rough spot in the road where we don't have any federal money left. And so we're trying to figure out how we are able to provide services across the state for daycare. English was one of several in the Arch Ford Education Building Tuesday to try and solve that problem. Shahid Sheikh runs Little Marston's Learning Center in Northwest Arkansas and says the proposed cuts would be devastating.
Over 40% of our businesses, providers closing their business. thousands of families without childcare, and an average per child increase of over $100 in tuition costs.
After a 2-hour work session, Sheik and others proposed percentage-based cuts, where centers that have been getting more money from the state due to their quality wouldn't lose quite so much. It wouldn't be a permanent solution.
This proposal is not one that takes us back to where we were. Every provider, every level is still taking a cut, right? It's not a clean win.
State officials in attendance took notes and pictures to consider these possible courses of action before November 1st, and there is some hope that a change will come.
Keep a lot of the providers from closing or from children from having to lose their spots.
We feel confident that the solutions that we've presented to the Department of Education can be implemented without the need of legislators or external factors.
Department of Education officials told me today they were unable to give an on-camera interview, but they did provide a statement saying that today's recommendations will be given to the Arkansas Early Childhood Commission, who will then decide if they can make any adjustments.
Thanks, Carter. Another issue some Arkansans could be facing is the rising cost of health insurance, and it's leaving many wondering what they have to do to keep their families safe. Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield CEO is hoping to ease those concerns as he spoke on the issue today. He says the increase is due to a mix of rising medical costs, workforce challenges, and deferred care. Nationwide, 28% of Americans delay care due to cost, and in Arkansas, 125 small employers dropped coverage last year. He points to rising pharmaceutical costs as one of the main issues.
I suspect that Big Pharma is talking more to political leaders in our country than we are. And so that's having a bigger impact. And we've all got to embrace that and take that charge and make sure that people understand, especially the people that we love and we care for, they understand exactly what kind of impact it's having on them.
Healthcare spending is projected to jump from $5 to $8 trillion over the next decade, and renewal rates for next year are projected to rise around 8 to 9%. Across the nation, some businesses are in a pinch to save their cents, well, pennies, as a nationwide penny shortage has left many without the copper coin. THV 11's Maya Ellison gives us a look at how those here in Arkansas are impacted by the pinch.
Everybody knows the saying, if you pick a penny up off the ground, it's a sign of good luck. Well, nowadays, you might want to hold on to that good fortune a little while longer because the days of the penny might be no more.
The last time the U.S. did away with the coin was in the 1800s.
A century later, and this time, it's the penny.
Production has stopped, and we're fixing to be penniless.
Sounds like something out of a movie. Pennies on the brink of extinction.
The president, early in his second term, decided that it cost about 3.4 cents, I think, to make a penny today, which is roughly 3.5 times worth more than the penny is worth itself. And so he decided that as a cost-cutting measure, that the mint should eliminate the penny.
CBS News reports that the final order for penny blanks was made in May. And according to AP News, the penny costs the least to produce compared to other coins. Would you ever think that we would be in a time where we would say the penny is no more?
No, I didn't. We used to take pennies and put them on railroad tracks and let the train run over them. Not going to be able to do that anymore. It's not worth it anymore to do that.
In Arkansas, businesses are already feeling the effect, informing customers that the shortage is real. Did you know that there was a penny shortage?
It was more of a shock than anything because their pennies were everyday life.
Oh, I didn't actually know. I just walked straight in here. I didn't pay attention to the sign on the door.
Because of this, receiving exact change may not always be an option. Steve Good says that's creating problems for businesses across the natural state.
If the cents is a penny or 2 cents, or if it's a 6 or 7, they're rounding down to the dime or to the nearest nickel. And then if it's 3 and 4, they're rounding up.
While the 232-year-old coin won't be produced anymore, that doesn't mean it's disappearing completely. Keeping a little change in your pocket could go a long way, and after all, every penny still counts.
Clean out your cup holder in your car, clean out your change coin place that you have at the end of the day. Get all those things, get those pennies back in circulation, and let's be able to keep giving exact change for a little bit longer if we can.
In Little Rock, Maya Ellison, THV 11 News.
All right, Maya, thank you. According to the U.S. Mint, the last production of pennies won't take place until next year. Well, industry leaders and policymakers from around the globe gathering in Little Rock today for the Arkansas Lithium Innovation Summit. The event at the State House Convention Center spotlights Arkansas's rapidly growing role in the global lithium economy. And Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders touted the state's growth, calling Arkansas a national leader in critical mineral production. She says the natural state could soon supply up to 19 million tons of lithium, with several major projects on the verge of production. She also framed lithium development as a national security issue, warning that China currently controls more than 2/3 of the global lithium supply.
Unfortunately, batteries we currently buy are overwhelmingly from communist China. In fact, China controls more than 2/3 of the global lithium chemical supply. And make no mistake, the communist Chinese aren't making so many cheap batteries out of the goodness of their hearts. They want to control the entire global technology.
Sanders pointed to her administration's economic reforms, including tax cuts, faster permitting, and investments in workforce programs as reasons why Arkansas is ready to lead the way. Right now at the Capitol, a hearing on the lawsuit to fill the vacant seat left by Carlton Wings' resignation in District 70 is wrapping up. The lawsuit filed by Marcus Jones, chair of the Arkansas Democratic Party, is challenging the date Governor Sanders and Secretary of State Cole Jester set for the special election, as they argue the timeline violates state law. The same legal argument was raised earlier in October in another case filed by Franklin County resident Colt Shelby, and last week a judge ruled for a quick election there. Tonight at 10, THV 11's Catherine Rowley will bring us more from the hearing.
Rain continues to fall outside. They're getting a nice drink of water in northwest and north central Arkansas. The cold front is here. It's going to move through tonight and tomorrow. The wind is going to pick up, but I promise there'll be a much nicer forecast for Halloween.